Welcome to Season 4 of She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur with Voiceover Angela. I'm your host, Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and this podcast are the audio versions of my live Q&A chats on YouTube. If you'd like to be part of the live Q&A chats, come on over to my YouTube channel, Voiceover Angela. I'm live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. We talk about voiceover, the business of voiceover, audiobooks, and so much more. Find more information on my website, voiceoverangela.com. Enjoy today's episode. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips and tricks and techniques and things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about, I try to keep it to a topic, but it usually spins off into several. But that's okay, because this is how we learn, right? So today's topic is, we're talking about agents today. Of course, these topics are usually stem from questions that I get a lot in weeks preceding. And this actually came up yesterday with someone that I met with. Was the topic of agents. And do I need one? Do I have to have one? Should I get one? Are they really that important? I hear so-and-so has one and he does really well, but then so-and-so has one and rarely sees anything. Let's talk about it, because I too have mixed feelings on this. And I think, just personal opinion really quick, with all of the freelance marketplaces and all of the pay-to-plays and all of the opportunities online for us to audition for or to win work in one way or another, these have sort of become our agents, sort of, right? And I've heard mixed feedback about agents from several people that I know that have agents. And, some of them see some work, some of them see a lot of work, some of them go, they're just there. A lot of mixed feedback on agents. So I wanted to get your take and how you guys are feeling about it. And I know that my channel is more focused on those of you just getting started out. So let today's conversation sort of guide you into maybe making a decision on your own if you want to go that route or if you don't. However, I will say that as a brand new voice artist or audiobook narrator, mainly voiceover artists I'm talking to in terms of agents, I wouldn't expect to win a place in an agency at the very start. If you did, or if you do, then that's fantastic. But in my experience, most agents would want to see that you have a pretty good foundation in terms of clientele under your belt before they will even consider you, or as part of the questionnaire to be even considered to be a part of their agency or to have a place in their agency, if that makes sense. That is my experience. Not all agents are going to be the same. Not all agencies are going to be the same. So if you do decide to go out and find yourself representation through an agency, just know that some of them may require you to have a certain amount of titles or clientele, a certain caliber of clientele or experience and or training or coaching before they will even consider you to be represented by them. So let's just check the poll really quick because I want to get, of course, a pulse on what everybody's thoughts and feelings are right now. So how do you feel about having an agent for VO work? It looks like 9% of you said that you want one. And don't get me wrong. I mean, just like all of the other online platforms that we seek work from or audition on, right? Having an agent could be just another source of income. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Any kind of source of income is a good source of income, right? So I don't think that's a bad thing, but do we really need one, I guess is the question. Anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent. Let's just get the poll done, Angela, first, okay? Then we can go off on our tangents. So 9% of you said, I want one. None of you said, I have one. And 36% of you said, I don't want one. And 55% of you said, I'm not sure. And I was fairly certain that that was going to be the overwhelming majority in terms of responses in this poll. So I was not wrong. Okay, so hopefully if some of you watching, or if you're watching this video as team replay, if you have an experience or you have experience with having an agent, then please put your experience in the comments below. Or if you're watching this live right now, please add your experience with having an agent in the chat so we can get some feedback and help those that are not quite sure or don't want one. Maybe they can be better educated to perhaps make a decision on what they want to do or what they want to do in the future. So let's take away that banner. Let's get over to the comments. Who's first in? I have a feeling I know who that is. And of course, that is Caesar. Good morning, Caesar. Or good evening, good night for you. What time is it where you are, Caesar? Caesar says, oh, hi, Angela. Being that I live on the far side of the globe where coconut palms and pine trees grow beside each other, I can't see the benefit of having an agent. Having had experience developing business for other folks, I simply apply the same techniques for myself. And it seems to be working so far. Yeah, as we've talked about many times, and I think you're touching on this in the next comment, but as we've talked about many times, try to diversify where your income comes in as much as possible, because you want to have multiple sources to find work, right? So namely, you want to look at ACX for audiobooks, you want to look at Fiverr, Upwork, Voice123, Badalgo, Backstage, all of those online platforms that we audition on. And then you also want to market yourself directly to clients, and we've talked about that a couple times here on my channel fairly recently, I believe, a couple weeks ago. That means reaching out to companies who make content, who are in need of voice actors. Reach out to them directly and ask if they have in-house talent or if they hire freelancers. And if they do hire freelancers, then do they have space on their roster for a voice like yours? And then also to market yourself on social media. I think that is one of the best ways to go. It's completely free unless you decide to boost your posts and whatnot. But for the most part, free. All it costs you is a little bit of creativity and time, right? I think that is one of the fastest and best ways to market yourself. And then, of course, having an agent could just be another way to market yourself. So diversifying where your income comes from is one of the best things that you do. Also locally. I almost forgot to add that. If you're walking around town, getting your oil changed, you're in the grocery store, consider getting yourself a t-shirt that has your company information on it. You're a walking business card. I have done this, and I have had people ask me, what is Voiceover Angela? I'm a voice actor. I could record your phone greetings for you. I could, so on and so forth. So even locally in your community is another place that you can find work. Yeah. Tangent? Moving on. Caesar then says, apart from farming work on ACX, I also get direct requests for auditions via email from contacts I've developed through social media interactions. or outreach through my website or direct messaging. And it has kept me tremendously busy over the past several weeks. At this point, I don't need an agent. I need an assistant, a spiritual guru, a massage therapist, 7 barrels of rum, and a diving helmet. That said, hello, everyone. Big thanks to Dwight for yesterday's presentation on VO business organization. That was highly illuminating. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. It was on our Discord for our Platinum group. One of these days, I'd like to teach multi-track for promo commercial mixing. I think you should, Caesar. Specific to Adobe Audition, if anyone is interested. Great for making professional demos at home. And for those of you wondering what he's talking about, we have a Platinum group through my website, voiceoverangela.com, where we get together and we meet weekly on Thursday nights. And then we also have a dedicated Discord channel network. What's the word I'm looking for? We have a Discord server. That's what I was looking for. Where we can communicate with each other, watch each other work, have presentations like Dwight did yesterday, ask questions, offer support. So that in and of itself is worth the price of membership, if you ask me. But you guys aren't asking me, I'm telling you, whether you like it or not. But that is what he's referring to. And then Dwight. Hey, Dwight. Good morning, Angela and my fellow Angelinians. As to the agent, nope. Don't want one now and maybe not ever. I'm sure they have a place, just not in my headspace for now. To those of you that joined me last night, thank you for attending and your participation. I hope it helps you get a perspective on how you can lighten your chaotic load that we carry in new business. Dwight's specialty is organization and productivity. And I think that is very necessary. It's one of the questions I get asked about the most is, how do I juggle all this stuff? How do I get things done? How do I organize? How do I prioritize? How do I figure out what's important and what to do first and what can wait? I think that answer is going to be really different for everyone, depending on your schedule, availability, what you have available to you. But figuring out the how and the why, or the why and the how, is really going to help a lot of people. So thank you for doing that, Dwight. I'm sure that was that recorded? Did you guys tell me if that was recorded so I can go back and watch that? Oh, I just saw a super chat. Hold on. I'm a-coming. Hey, Sean. Thank you for the super chat. Sean, I appreciate you. Sean says, is finding an agent as a simple matter of performing a Google search? Do you recommend a local agent or one that is national? Do I even know what questions to ask? I think I mentioned, I don't have an agent. I have looked into finding agents. From my experience so far, it started with a simple Google search. I thought if I started local, I could at least, go in to shake hands with people and to meet people. In terms of like exclusivity in specific national regions and things like that, I think either a national agent or a local agent could probably offer you both kinds of jobs, I would think. Of course, the bigger the agency, the more flow of work you may see, just because of, for obvious reasons, it's a larger agency. So I guess it depends on how you want to do this. If you wanted to give it a try and see how it goes, you could try starting locally, right? And then, but have a firm understanding of the contracts, the terms and the contracts that you are offered. How long are you going to be, beholden to this agent? How far is their reach in terms of, are you just going to be doing local work, national, regional, global, right? Have a good understanding of the terms of the contract. And I think this just really goes with any agency, right? Have a firm understanding before you sign anything, let's just say that, make sure you have a firm understanding of the terms and that you can abide by them, that you can adhere to them, that they're not going to hold you back from something else, right? So I would look at it that way. And if it is something that is, maybe year to year, month to month for X amount of years or in perpetuity, or, you know what I mean? If it's something that you can maybe try for a certain period of time and see if it's something that's going to get you some work, or if it's something that you even like, then, try it locally or what have you. Or you could go try out for a larger agency, I suppose. And I'm sort of just thinking as I'm talking here. So, but I think that's what I would do. I would want to see if it was something that I would like, or if it was something that was going to hold me back. Because the thing to keep in mind with having agents and having regional, global, national work is that there's, sometimes there's exclusivity clauses. There are no compete clauses. For instance, if you have, let's just say that you have a brand that you recorded a commercial for, and they have, this commercial is going to be regional in a specific area for a specific amount of time, and there's a no compete clause in it, meaning that you can't do any work for anyone else in that competing environment, or that competing anything in that industry that would compete with that brand, then you couldn't do it, if that makes sense. So these are all things to sort of keep in the back of your mind as you're looking through these options and deciding what is best for you. I'm not here to tell you, yes, you should do this, yes, you should do that, because I'm a firm believer in just sharing information and letting you soak in all of that information and make a decision that's best for you, right? Because this is your business ultimately, and you need to decide what you want to do for your business. And there really isn't a right way to do this or a wrong way to do this. It's what you decide. So that's a great question, and I'm glad that you asked it, Sean. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. And I hope that answers your question. All right, let's get back up to Dwight. I think had one more comment. There it is. Caesar, Dwight to Caesar says, seeing as I am your only rum barrel carrier, can you please bring on more carriers so I can bring on the guru role for a bit? I need the rest. Go through a lot of rum, just saying. Caesar, count me in to help write it or to help learn from it for the multi-track class. I think it's a good idea, Caesar. I think you should do that. PSV Odyssey says, howdy, howdy, howdy. Good morning, Paul in Arkansas. Got my first AACX offer last night. Congratulations. Did you accept it? Did you accept it? Are you doing it? Musical Neptunian says, some point next year I might do a session on composing music beds for people who know music theory, if anybody were interested. I think any kind of information or new skill set is a good thing. Never stop learning. Learn everything you can. Because then you in turn can offer those skills to someone else as a package deal. It makes you more valuable. As a freelancer, as a business owner. Dwight says to PSV Odyssey, congrats. That is great news. Wonderful news. Why did I substitute great for wonderful? Because it's both. Because this is my show. I do what I want. I don't know. Musical Neptunian says, by the way, I am your favorite musical shark, in case no one has figured it out yet. Normally this is graveyard for my Aussie time zone, but happened to be up now. That's awesome. What time is it there? I have to know. PSV Odyssey says, thank you, Dwight. Musical Neptunian says, I like to compose my own music. Sample packs, etc. run into copyright etc. issues that drive me nuts. Yeah. And you really take that risk of running into copyright issues with any music that you find online. Even when you find music in, I should say, especially when you find music in the Creative Commons or stuff that you find for free online. Obviously, the more available it is and the more free it is, it's going to be, you're going to have more copyright issues in terms of using music for your work for the client, right? The client's going to have more copyright issues, or you will if you're using it, if you're the end user of that work. So this is why I use storyblocks.com, and this is not a promotion. I'm just telling you what I use. Storyblocks.com, and with my subscription, I pay annually, and I have access to still images, video loops. What was I just going to say? Like nature sounds, music, thousands upon thousands of them, all kinds of digital assets that you can think of. I think there's even like some, I can't think of it now, but there's all kinds of stuff in there that you can use. And with all of that stuff comes a license to use that stuff. So it's all high quality, royalty free digital assets that you can use. And then anytime, I think in the past 6 years, I've had maybe 3 issues with clients that have had copyright strikes. No fault of mine or the client's. Someone else took the music and put a copyright on it when they shouldn't have. It was somebody else's error. And so sending the client my license, and then they in turn send that license to YouTube, it's cleared up within minutes, because it is showing that the previous person who used it and put a copyright on it erroneously shouldn't have done that, and that cleared up the copyright issue. So having a license to use the music is important. It's a peace of mind that you just really can't put a price on, especially when you have so many other things going on that you need to, that, you know, demand your focus. It's just one less thing to have to worry about. That was a tangent. Brian is here. Hey, Brian. Howdy. Howdy, Brian. Brian says, Dwight, did you record, and can we get a playback? Yes, did you record? Was that recorded? Alex Jensen is here. Advice I've heard so far is not to depend on having an agent, but nothing wrong with having that spoke in the wheel. And that's kind of how I feel about it, Alex. Maybe at some point I will seek out having representation, but right now I don't want to shoot myself in the foot and say I don't need it, but I think any form of, any kind of opportunity to earn income is not a bad thing, right? It's another spoke in the wheel. It was perfectly stated, Alex. Brian says, congrats, PSV Odyssey. Musical Neptunian says, if I ever get so stratospheric that I need an agent, I will also join the Moonies. Dwight says, yes, Brian, I did record and also have a slide presentation. Awesome. We had some technical difficulties, so Caesar recorded it for me. They will be posted for the Platinum group for those not in the... Where is the continuation, Dwight? I don't see the continuation for that. For not in the group, perhaps? Alex Jensen says, way to go, PSV Odyssey. Angel says, hello, everyone. Hello, Angel. Thanks again to Superstar Dwight for the great VO info session last night for us Angelinians. Why is that so funny to me? Angelinians, I think that's just my imposter syndrome. That you guys would name yourselves after me. It's just, it's so funny. Yes, I have imposter syndrome too. It's very normal. I don't like it. It's hard to overcome. But yes, a little bit. Maybe it's my introvert. Maybe it's both. Could be both. Ty Condolar says, hi, Angela. Do agents only add VO talent who have professionally produced demos? That is a great question. And I think if you get proficient at making a demo yourself, maybe you could... I think you could if it was good. However, I think if you have, at the point that you're ready for an agent, meaning that you have enough firepower behind you. You have a nice book of clients behind you, or whatever it is that agency is looking for in a new talent to represent. Maybe you could get away with making your own. However, I want to say perhaps someone who could coach you through a session that would know exactly what an agent is looking for, perhaps could help you create a demo that would have exactly what the agent is looking for. And I'm thinking through this as I'm talking, so I might be repeating myself. I know I am. But I'm thinking through this. I think your best bet is to maybe have a professional demo to submit to an agent. I think that would be your best bet. At the very least, have someone coach you through how it should sound and what should be included in it. Right? I think that's going to be my answer. Can I dial a friend? No, I think that's my answer. Joel. Hey, Joel. I'm digging your stuff on TikTok. Keep it coming. Happy Tuesday, Angela and everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. Lisa Jodoin says hello from Alberta. Winter is coming here quickly. Sounds like the Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. Hope you're all keeping warm. It's not too bad out here in the desert. Not too bad yet. Kristen is here. Hello, Kristen. Yes, thanks to Dwight for last night. Lisa says, not sure if I would seek out an agent. As a former recording artist, I never felt the need for an agent then. Interesting. Sally Susino says, oh, hi, or hi from Massachusetts. This is my first time being here live. So excited. Well, glad that you're here. Welcome. Welcome to the fold, Sally. Brian says, as I'm leaning to doing more character work. Why is character in quotations? And I live in an anime dub capital. I'm wondering if agents are a thing I may try and do. I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? And you are very good with character work, so stop doing character, because it is character work, right? It's not quote-unquote character work. It's character work, right? That's a little bit of imposter syndrome right there. Character work. Kristen says, Caesar, yes to your lessons. Yes, I agree. I think that would be great. Hi, Sally. It's a great place to be. Dwight says to Sally, welcome to the friendliest and most helpful group of people I have met in the VO sphere. It is almost a silly competition on how helpful we can be. That's true. I've always said that the voiceover industry has been probably some of the most helpful and warm and supportive people I have ever met. Ever. But my platinum group, the people in my platinum group, are tenfold, I think, on all counts. Everybody who joins and has a question, issue, problem, inquiry is like, everyone like quickly descends on them. Okay, how can we help? Extend a hand. Here we go. Let's get on a Zoom. Let's fix it. Let's work on it. Let's figure out the problem. And that is just that's so fulfilling to have a space where people like that can come together and help each other without any kind of like, it's not like transactional. You know what I mean? There's no like, if I do this for you, then you can do this for me. Or there's, everyone's so helpful. And I love that. It's so warming. It renews my faith in humanity. I guess. I don't know. That sounded kind of morbid. It's been a tough year. Leave me alone. But he's right. I mean, yeah. I mean, super helpful. Super helpful. Dwight says to Sally, oh, and hi from me, your neighbor from Connecticut. New Englanders represent. Paul is here. Hey, Paul. Good day, Angela, et al. From a very gloomy UK. My pennyworth here, based on 30-odd years of experience on the production side of audio, is that agents do very little to add to an artist's workflow. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. I've heard mixed feedback on how much work an agent can send your way. But I would have to say most of that feedback is not much, right? But still, it's another avenue from which to find work, right? So what could it hurt ultimately, right? Paul then says, I feel that these days you're basically your own agent. And if you're the kind of artist who has a significant volume of work coming through an agent, you're not watching this. True. Very true. Unless, you just like to hang out with us, and that's cool too. If you have an agent and you're getting a bunch of work, then cool. Hang out. Share your experience with us. Help us decide. What's your experience? Gregory is here. Hey, Gregory. To Dwight, your seminar totally changed my approach to my VO business. They saved time for me today, so thank you. I think interacting in VO forums and communities can be agency in and of themselves, and that's true. Oh, and that just reminded me of something that I wanted to piggyback off. There was a comment earlier, and forgive me, I forgot who had said it. I think it was Caesar, about interactions on social media and finding work that way. Networking is another way, could be another source of income with networking with other voice artists and audiobook narrators. Because I think it would, correct me if I'm wrong, Caesar, but in your situation, you had a narrator suggest you or refer you to an author, and this is how you landed that book deal. Am I wrong? So knowing other voice actors and audiobook narrators, being friends with, connecting with, networking within our sphere is another way. So how do you do that? The best way to do that is social media. Get out there and create that content because you are discoverable by other people in our community, your other peers in this industry, and customers alike. Potential clients alike, and perhaps casting directors, and perhaps agents, and perhaps, the world is sort of your oyster on social media, right? So get out there and start creating some content today. Alex says, speaking of social media, sort of, though I don't quite have a video ready, I decided to make the YouTube channel I've been planning for a very long time. Good. That's a good step in the right direction. Then I saw someone else starting a channel with the name I had been planning to use. Had to change mine. It will still work. Kind of made me chuckle at the coincidence. That's why you can't sit on these things. You can't sit on them. If you have an idea, you have to jump on it because it's highly likely that someone else is going to think of it before you can take the plunge. All right. So if you have an idea, you got to get on it. You got to get on it. If you see something good or if you think something good, go get it because it's not going to last forever. Right? It's not going to last forever. So you got to get it while the getting's good. All right. Let's see. Kristen said, definitely, Gregory. Gary Micheloni says, AKA Masonry Construction. Trying to keep me on my toes by switching up user profiles. It's funny. Most of the article writing I do is for agencies through Upwork, and it works well for me. But my VO work, not so sure. And there's another good point to piggyback off of. If you have other skills, if you are working from home as a voice artist or an audiobook narrator, and you want another stream of income, you can utilize some of the skills you already have and make them available on places like Upwork and Fiverr. If you have, like, for example, if you have a Fiverr profile and you have maybe 3 voiceover gigs, you have 1 gig available if you're a brand new seller. You have 1 more gig available that you can make, another skill set that you have available to people. All of your gigs don't have to be within the same category. And a lot of people I find don't know that. You could have you could have one gig that is for like website design, first thing that comes to mind. And then you can have another gig for maybe YouTube thumbnail creation. And then you could have another gig for audiobook narration. You could have gigs in multiple categories to offer skills that you have. That's another stream of income just waiting for you to create it, right? Same with Upwork. You can have a general profile and then 2 specialty profiles. So you could have one that was different, right? My stomach's growling. I hope you guys don't hear it. Now you're all going to be listening for it. Okay, we had that one already. Alex says, clarification. The other person had started their channel just a week before I made mine. Gotta jump on that stuff, man. Caesar says, topic suggestion. Do I need a sound engineer to succeed? It's a good question. It's a good topic. I see folks out there offering per finished hour rates to become the engineering partner to a VOA who wants to focus on the performance aspect. That is a good topic. I think that is something that we should definitely talk about. You know me, I'm always advocating for you guys to be as self-sufficient as possible so you could keep profits and make more profits by expanding your skill set so you can offer more skills to people to make more money. But if you're just wanting to focus on the performance aspect, or perhaps you just cannot wrap your head around the technical side, which I totally get, because it's not easy to learn that stuff. Do you need a sound engineer to, tidy up everything, to make the formatting adjustments, to do the mastering, to do the editing, to do all of that stuff for everything that you do? Is it cost effective, or do you learn it yourself? But having someone who understands how all of this stuff works in terms of what effects you need, what effects you don't need, perhaps to go through to do a booth audit with you to make sure that your microphone is at the right distance, that your room is treated properly, that your mic is, again, turned the correct way. It is helpful to have people to tell you to do this stuff. So having an audio engineer or a sound engineer do this stuff for you at least once to show you how all of this stuff works and to make sure that it's all, I don't want to say correct, but it fits, that it fits your situation properly, then that is something that you probably want to do. I think my train was derailed somewhere in there, but I think you guys know what I mean. Gary then says, lesson regarding YouTube channel names, social media names, website domains. Once you have an ideal name picked out, get or buy the assets. YouTube channels are free and domains are cheap. Jump on it, people. Dylan says, I would love an agent. They have more connections in the casting industry than I do. That can make all the difference. I've been using Upwork and my auditions aren't even being viewed. Interesting. You know what I've learned this year? And it's something that I've said quite a bit, and we always say here on my channel, is that not getting a job has nothing to do with you most of the time, right? As far as your sound quality or your performance or something like that, in most cases, you just weren't the voice they were looking for. But something that I have learned this year, and I'm a firm believer in, and it really helps me to deal with some of the ups and downs that we deal with every day in this business, is that rejection is redirection, right? If your audition isn't being viewed, then it just wasn't meant for you, right? If it wasn't viewed or you didn't get the job, that job was not meant for you. That something else was. Quiet phone. That something else was meant for you. Or maybe something better is coming up. Maybe something else was going to be more demanding of your time that's coming up shortly. It just wasn't meant for you. So looking at things that way has really helped. And that really goes back to the positive reframing of what could be negative things in your life. This really helps with building confidence and really helps to kind of squish that imposter monster if you start to look at a positive way to look at things, or seeing things positively, looking through a positive lens at things. So maybe that will help, I don't know, but rejection is just redirection. Pamela's here. Hey, Pam. Good morning, all. Pass on agents. Been trying to write thoughts, but it becomes a Tangela proportionate rant. There you go. Pam has spoken. I think you would have good Pamelance. I think your tangents are good too, Pam. I think they are needed. Dylan says the ability for someone to actually get my auditions listened to by the right people could be invaluable. And that's true. And that's true. Because when an agent sends you an audition, they already know if you're going to be in the segment of fitting what the client is looking for already. So you already have a good chance of being a voice that is chosen if your agent already is familiar with you and your voice and your style. And they already are telling the client, hey, I've got a guy that is exactly what you need. Here you go. Right? So that could be a definite advantage, for sure. Dwight says, Gregor, you just made my day. I am glad you find it helpful. Remember, last night was one part of a whole. I am working on the other parts of that series. Yes, it is a series. Sean says, off topic, I had a dry spell for a couple of weeks, experienced a severe case of imposter syndrome, accepted an offer to work part-time, then business picked up again and had to quit the job. That's so funny, Sean, that you say that, because every time I've experienced a lull, I've had that same sort of panic, right? Where you go, oh my gosh, what is happening? Do I need to go and do this? Do I need to? And then you start auditioning for a bunch of stuff, and then you start thinking, oh my gosh, should I get another job? Right? And then every time and it's so unexpected too when it happens, but as soon as the work comes back, like I've gone from 0 to 100 within 24 hours. Like I've had no work, on a Monday, and let's just say Tuesday, I had 6 jobs waiting for me the next day. So again, I think it's when there's a lull, you should really just rest and recoup and use that time to focus on rebuilding, refreshing another part of your business, right? Taking another look at your website and refreshing your demos, going on to pay to plays or wherever else that you're posted on, that you have a profile on, refreshing those demos, maybe refreshing your bio, refreshing your gigs on Fiverr. I mean, whatever it is, use that lull to focus on strengthening another aspect or refreshing another aspect of your business. Because as we all know, there's so much to do. There's so much to keep on top of that there's always something that you could be doing. So those lulls, I have learned, is to rest a bit more, to take that time to rest and kind of recoup, and then to go in and refresh some of the things that need to be refreshed that I haven't touched in maybe 6 months or a year. Right? So that's how I kind of look at that. But I know exactly what you're talking about, and it always happens. And it always happens that way. I thank you for sharing that, Sean. Dylan says, by the way, sorry, here's your donuts. I've been absent from the Platinum Group meetings lately. I lost my job of 18 years 2 weeks ago, so I've been working my butt off trying to accelerate my VO business plans. Totally understandable, Dylan, and I'm sorry to hear that. But thank you for the donuts. I'll share them with you. Sally says to Dwight, thanks. I've been lurking a while now, and I feel a little starstruck with you regulars. Don't feel, we're just people like you. We're just people. I know what you mean, though. because I've met a couple people that I admire. Even if it's on my computer screen, I'm just like, oh my God. I'm in the same space as these people that I've watched and admired, right? I get it, but we're just people. That's how you gotta look at it. We're just people like you. Musical Neptunian says it's 4 a.m. here. Good golly. That's dedication, people. 4 a.m. And he's looking at my mug and hanging out with us. That's dedication. Dwight says to Sally, we are the same as you. See, I told you. We put the pants on one leg at a time. Most of us. We have been where you are now and want only the best for you. Absolutely. I will echo that 10,000%. Gary says anybody creating music or videos should automatically add a copyright 2024 ETC copyright. It's that easy. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. And that's really easy to do, like in the metadata. Good point. PSV Odyssey says, I did accept it and looking forward to it. Congratulations. That's awesome. You'll smash it. Get it. You'll do well. Good job. Sally says, many moons ago in my 20s, I moved to LA to pursue screen acting. I tempt at a small-time agent's office, and it was so horrible an experience, I am actually shy of agents for VO. That stinks. So it sort of ruined your experience before you even really had an experience on the other end. Do we ask you to share some experiences, or will that just mess us all up? I'm afraid to ask. I'm afraid to know. Musical Neptunian says, most friendly industry, VO. Most nasty industry, IT and computer tech. Good to know. Good to know. But yes, I agree. I've been part of a few industries, although most of the industries that I've worked in my adult life have been male-dominated industries. Construction and automotive. So my experiences are a little bit different than some, but I have to say that the VO industry has been the most helpful and supportive, loving and warm industry I've ever had the pleasure and honor to be part of. I will 100% agree. Musical Neptunian says, don't hire a secret agent. Why not? You never know when you need one. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning. How is it in Oregon? It's been so long. I need to get back there. I feel like I need to hug a tree. Gregory is here. Hey, Gregory, don't forget to like and subscribe. Good folkies. Yes, give that like button a little touch, a little tickle. I hate to say smash it, because don't smash it. Just tap it. Thank you. Sean says, I have a couple of unofficial book agents who found me through my website. I have an agreement to produce whatever they send to me, and they pay me per finished hour on a monthly basis. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome. I have, sort of on the same vein, I have a few indie publishers that found me through Fiverr and my website, and then every once in a while they'll send me stuff. Joy is here. Hey, Joy, the embodiment of joy, as her name says. Hello, everyone from cold but sunny Southfield, Michigan. How are you, Joy? Caesar says, my Veiled Air trailer has actually led to several requests to do dual and duet narrations or auditions. I made top 5 on a couple and was given tiebreaker reads to make a final decision. Online presence helps. I'm not surprised, Caesar, at all. I think we've been telling you for the longest time to share your voice. I almost said sexy words. Share your voice with the world, because you have a very unique voice and style and presence. So I'm not surprised at all that you're kind of taking off the way that you are. But yes, online presence definitely helps. So get online already. Stop waiting. And you don't necessarily have to show your face. For those of you that are like, I don't want to have to do all of that, and, I don't want to show my face, and I'm ugly, no one wants to see me. I mean, who cares? We're all just people at the end of the day. Just share your content. You don't have to show your face. You could just have a voiceover, record something and then have like a static image of your dog or your backyard or something inspirational, landscape, something, and then have your narration beneath it as the audio. Do that. But it does help to show that there is a person behind the camera. It's something that makes you relatable. It's something that makes you real, human, right? And I think that's something that we all need, right? Other humans to connect to relate to be like in community with, if that makes sense. I think, I don't want to get into another tangent about, I'm just going to cut that one off before it even starts. Chat with Lorna says, the Merry Mystic says, hello everyone from rainy, is it raining in Oregon? Of course it is. It's Oregon. Of course it's raining, right? Duh. Caesar says, if it fits, I sits. A cat, presumably. Yep. Yeah. That's something a cat would definitely say. Lamar says, you got an agent? You got an agent? No, I don't have one, but I played with the idea of looking for one. I might. I don't know. We'll see. Dehort says, hey, Angela, I have one, but I believe the first priority is the product, your voice. So coaching and workout groups and anything to improve the bookability, if that's a word, if it's not, it is now. I think it should be. Bookability, that's a good word, is that main thing. Yes. And that is why I sort of, at the beginning of this session where I said, before you get an agent, you're going to need to be at a certain level. You may need to have your performances down, your script interpretation down, your technical ability with the sound engineering down. You might even need to have a considerable, if not quasi-impressive book of clients under your belt, or a number of audiobook titles under your belt, or whatever that is. There may be some stipulations that you need to meet before you can even be considered to be represented in some cases, right? So just keep that in mind. If you're just starting out and this is your first month, I would not think that you could probably go and seek out an agent at this point. It's probably going to take some time to make sure that your bookability is on point before you go and seek out an agent. But good to know, so then you can start building the goals, taking the steps, making sure that you're marking all of those boxes as you go. So if that is your desire to have an agent, you can kind of plan that out as you grow and as you learn and as you continue forward in your journey, if that makes sense. So all good things to know. Bob Reitz is here. Chilly but beautiful day here in Wadsworth, Ohio. Glad to be here. Glad you are here. Lamar says, I said that yesterday. Rejection, redirection. Stop. You're synchronicity-izing again. Hey, man. You and I are on the same vibration. That's not a bad thing, right? Rejection is redirection. Musical Neptunian says, yes, solo business often are feast or famine. Yes, and that is a discussion I had with somebody yesterday. It's about you can't rely on any business really to have any kind of consistent income. You can't really break it down that way. What you can do is discover how much money you need to make per year, and then per week, and then per day, and then figure out how you can make that happen to the best of your ability. As far as diversifying your streams of income as much as possible, but you can't it's not like a done deal, I guess is what I'm saying. There's no way to make it sort of consistent, right? Because you're relying on sales, I guess, if it's a sales business. So that is another reason why diversifying your income as much as possible from, multiple sources, from all of your skills that you have is going to be important. Because, for example, if your VO work slows down a bit, one of your other skills or one of the other offerings that you have picks up to kind of cover that deficit on the VO side. So multiple streams of income is definitely helpful, and I highly recommend that. Use the skills you already have. Teach them to others. Use them. Offer them to clients. Do it. And get on social media. Caesar says, the lulls are horrible. I went through that last month and wondered what was wrong. I thought perhaps I wasn't hitting that American neutral that was asked for, or my mics, or my processing. It's really easy to overthink everything. That is the imposter syndrome, right? What am I doing wrong? When ultimately it's probably nothing. It's just your time to rest and refocus on something else. That's kind of how I look at it. Angel says, to me, it would depend on the genre of VO one wants to do. It would seem more valuable to have an agent for commercial work opposed to audiobooks and e-learning. Of course. Of course. No. I was going to say something, but it doesn't really matter. I think I've already said it anyway. Caesar says, retail therapy helps, though. I now have 2 new headphones. Of course you do. And I don't condone retail therapy. Don't go spending money. Don't go spending money when you're in a lull. Don't go spending money. Hang on to it and focus on reinvesting your time into your business. But Caesar is in a whole different category. He's got, like, what is it? It's GAS, but it stands for gear acquisition syndrome. What is it? What is it again? I forget. But yes, he is the guy that has to have tech, has to have the mics, has to have the stuff, the technical stuff. So 2 new headphones, one for recording, one for mixing and mastering, and my wife enjoys them for listening to music. Of course she does, because they probably sound amazing. A little too much. She's in there all day. Yeah. Caesar says, to Dwight, one leg at a time? You mean you don't try jumping both legs in, falling, tripping over, rolling on the ground, smashing against a coffee table, crashing a vase? You don't say. See, I knew Caesar was going to jump in there with that comment. I knew you were. Joel says, thanks, Angela. Social media is tough to come up with content sometimes, but definitely worth meeting all the new VO folks. And I think that is worth the time and effort, just meeting all the new VO folks. Is it Casey? Am I saying that right? Casey Swan? Love VO. I am in a solid career, but no, it's not forever. And diving into VO as a potential career after working on my day job, it's a lot of work balancing it. And it is. It is a lot of work. Seems to be what everybody goes through. Yeah. I mean, it's very typical. And everybody's approach to juggling life, full-time employment, and then creating your VO business is definitely something that everybody has dealt with. And how you deal with it, your approach to it, is going to be different from the next guy, because everybody's situation is just different. So attending live chats like this one and watching videos about how other people approach that is going to perhaps give you some ideas, inspire you in ways that you can save time here, maybe decide where and when you can maybe sacrifice a little bit of time doing something else to VO, right? It's going to depend on your availability and your schedule, because we got family, we got the other job, we've got other, demands on our time. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. So I'm hoping that, attending live chats like this definitely help. But it is tough, and it is something that we all go through for the most part. Casey's then says, definitely need to get the demos out to submit to agencies if I can find some. Joel says, yes, Caesar, retail therapy is calming. Got new headphones and love them. I'm not saying that I don't do it. I have done it. Just be careful with the spending. Sally says, yeah, I'll answer any questions, but I am wary because it was on the dirtier side of the biz. But I know I spoke with other agencies' temps and they were lovely. Oh boy. Dare I ask? No. Caesar says, Joel says, sweet, what'd you get? What'd you get? Joey says, I was at the Major City Comic Con last weekend. Motor City Comic Con last weekend and had a total blast. I also got some networking done too. Good for you, Joy. Good for you. My favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle said, I need representation if I want to be in a Disney film. Of course, if you want to be in a Disney film. Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely going to need an agent for that. Musical Neptunian says, I never want to show my face because I don't want any of my family to stumble on it. Why? Why? Why not be you? Why are you so afraid to be you? Chat with Lorna, the Merry Mystic says, I sing karaoke with a couple of people who use agents only. One is a boomer, and the other 20-something both say they are not tech savvy. Angel's laughing. Dwight says to Casey Swan, you are not alone in your dual career VO journey. Learn to balance and prioritize, and that includes your personal life. So think of it not as a dual career, but a triple career. Balance. Casey says to Sally, did you find being on that NSFW side limiting? Did you go by a different name? Coach Ariel says, tangent away, Angela. Love those. Don't encourage the tangents. Thankful to be here as I recover from icky client PTSD and pushing self to get back in saddle again. I'm sorry that you have PTSD, but you know, another thing that I've learned this year is getting through the hard stuff. The best way to get through it is to go through it. The best way to get over it is to go through it. You can't avoid it. You can't push it off. You got to go through it. In the Mixed with Leah B podcast, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Leah B. Ralph. Hey, Ralph. Hi, Angela and Angelinians. Are there any agencies out there that won't hire you if you're on Fiverr and Upwork? I have heard this question many, many times, and I have heard people talking about this many, many times. And I can't tell you if all agencies will not or will. I can't, because I don't know them all. Obviously, I can't say if they will or won't ultimately. But from what I'm hearing, that is a myth. Because it is, what the issue is that because Fiverr and Upwork are global marketplaces, this is kind of going back to what I was saying before about geographics and non-competes and things like that, because it's almost impossible to adhere to a certain region and a non-compete if Fiverr is a global marketplace, because you could have an order in place that your voice is playing in a competing industry or a competing manufacturer in a certain area through Fiverr, and then you get this other. That is where most of that trouble lies. Not necessarily because it's considered to be, you know, they're not looking down on it or anything like that. It's because of the non-compete and the geographical limitations is the main issue for that. But ultimately, that is something that you would need to clear up with the specific agency that you're speaking to. But for the most part, from what I've heard, that is the issue, not that you're on these sites. The limitations that these sites can put on your availability within the agency, if that makes sense. Ralph then says, by the way, always love your tangents. Don't encourage the tangents. Casey says to Dwight, thanks so much. I will keep that advice in mind. Learning to schedule booth time was very important. Of course. In the mix says to Joy, hello, fellow Detroiter. Sally says to Casey Swan, it wasn't limiting for me because I didn't have enough jobs under my belt to be attractive, and I left before I got that far. Classic ADHD multi-potentialite. Am I reading that right? And yes, different name. Caesar says gear acquisition syndrome. That is correct. Good. I want to make sure I had that right. Dwight says to Casey Swan, absolutely, but there are ways to simplify the overwhelming concept of prioritizing. It is a step-by-step process that simplifies it as it goes. Reach out if you ever need some guidance. Dwight says to Caesar, no, Caesar, don't make me get the spray. Don't make me get the spray, Caesar. Dylan says, okay, so it sounds like most are against agents. What about getting on publishers and explainer video companies' rosters? Those absolutely yes, please. Yes, absolutely. It seems like that would be a more stable way of getting income, but how to do it? By reaching out to them. By reaching out to them directly or being found by them on, guess what? Social media. Right? Reaching out to them directly, getting found by them, social media or by networking, right? Having them find you by connection, by either by person or social media, finding you like stumbling upon some of your content on social media, or you reaching out to them directly. That is how it is done. Caesar says to Dwight, that needs to be a sticker on our Discord server. Sally says, I think my two best takeaways are get the experience first because a big agent can actually stifle you if you aren't experienced because they can't actually book you. Yes, and if you aren't experienced, they might not even consider you an option. I mean, just to be honest, they may not even consider you if you aren't experienced enough because that is too much of a risk for them to represent someone who doesn't have the experience or the training. Right? They don't want to go out on a limb and show your work or show your audition to a client if they don't have faith that you can deliver what is needed. Right? I mean, let's just be real here. So if you're not experienced or trained or have the technical aspect down, right? You don't have your sound dialed in, then they won't take that risk on you. Right? So get the experience, learn everything that you can, and then, if that is your goal, then, you know what it's now going to take to get there. Joy says, hey, at Leah B Podcast. Coach Ariel says, feel like I get on a roll, then family life, etc. gets so full on, focus tricky. Mom advice? I know that's pretty broad. And this space helps a lot. Yeah. I can tell you from a mom to a mom, the worst thing for me was the mom guilt, was spending time away from my family, knowing they were upstairs, playing a game or doing something without me. And I was down here focused on building this career. However, I knew that was temporary. That's what I had to tell myself, is that the sacrifices that I was making at that time were temporary and for the greater good, was that ultimately I could get to a point where I could spend more time with them in the future. And I did it. It took me, it was somewhere between 1.5 years and 2 years is when I went full time. It was closer to 2 years where I went full time. So in retrospect, 2 years was a long time to do that. But ultimately, it got me here. It got me to this point where now I can spend more time with my son. So just keep that in mind. It's temporary. It's a sacrifice, yes, but temporary and ultimately going to be better. If that is your why, is to spend more time with your family. Sally says, and the other is that many agents require that whatever jobs you get, even if you landed it, you have to pay your agent. Well, yeah, the agent will take a percentage. And that is another thing to keep in mind, too, is that usually the budget that they present to you, from my understanding, is what you get anyway. The agent's already considered their their portion out. Caesar says to Sally, well, you can lead a horse to water, but if you sound like a horse, nay. Casey Swan says, thanks, Dwight. Angela, best advice I've gotten. Good. Gary Micheloni says, never sign an exclusive contract with an agent. Unless you want to be exclusive. It is your choice after all. And an exclusive contract means that you can't have any others. Or that you are, depending on the verbiage, exclusive to a certain territory, a certain region, to a certain, whatever it is. Just, as I said before, anything that you're putting your name on, read it before you sign it. Make sure that you have an understanding of it. And if it doesn't make any sense to you, it's a completely different language, then hire an attorney or somebody to look it over to make sure that it makes sense for you. And if it doesn't, and they can't change it, then that's not for you. But just make sure that you have a firm understanding of all of this stuff, right? If you want to be exclusive to a specific agent, to a specific brand, to a specific region, then that's your prerogative. But if you don't, then don't sign an exclusive contract. But just ultimate moral of the story is understand what you're signing before you sign it. No, don't encourage the tangents. Coach Ariel says, thank you. Appreciate you, Angela. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping that something said today helped somebody. Maybe some people, plural, hopefully. At the very least, entertaining. So you guys could laugh at me. Anyway, if you have something that you want to talk more about, if there's something you want to hear more about in upcoming weekly chats, then please put that in the comments down below. If you're watching this in Team Replay. I was going to say something, but I totally forgot what it was now. But anyway, I will be back next week, unless, of course, my allergies come back. And again, I apologize for last week, but my tonsils were swollen. I couldn't speak. It was terrible. Doctor's orders not to speak for the entire day. So it happens, right? It happens to us all. But anyway, I'll be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, audition, read your contracts, and keep practicing. So I'll see you guys all next week. Thank you for listening to She Lancer Mom Entrepreneur with Voiceover Angela. That's me. For more information about me, visit my website, voiceoverangela.com, or hop on over to my YouTube channel, Voiceover Angela. Again, thanks for listening. Have a great day.